So when March came around, my husband and I had still been talking about things, and when the parents got back from their vacation, things that were said were kind of reinstilled some of the feelings, and basically it came down to I don't know how to say it. Okay, I'll just go ahead and kind of explain some of it, but know that the parents were very nice. They were really sweet people. Like, I fell totally in love with them, you know, like when I went to visit them, and they told me, you know, to tell Cody that he was going to have like a little cousin, and he had an aunt and an uncle there that loved him, and you know, it was just really sweet, and I think that they will be great intended parents one day. I think they were a little too new to the process for me, and it sounds really weird because obviously I'm not an expert by any means, but just some of the things that they were expecting weren't very realistic, and things were making us question how it might affect later on in the relationship or the pregnancy or whatever, as far as you know, like if they're worried about this now, what happens about this then, and just that kind of thing. I don't know, it's so hard. I don't want to say too much and sort of I don't ever want to feel like I don't want to give anybody the impression that I don't like them, or it was just something that it came down with. I just don't think they were the right match for me. It took a lot of soul searching for both my husband and I. I mean, we had never broke off a match before, and it was something that, and it was something that if you haven't done it, it's really hard to imagine. It is heartbreaking. Even though you know it's better in the long run, probably for them, because they'll find a surrogate that can learn with them and doesn't have expectations of different things, and for me, because I would find another couple, or you know, and you know, it's the right move, but it's just hard to do that because of them being traveling, and I was working all the time, and lots of things were going on, and I decided it was just going to be better, rather than try to catch them on the phone, to email them. And so I emailed them, and I put it off more towards me because I was having some life changes at the time, which I'll get into that too in this video, but lots of things were changing in our lives, and I didn't feel like it would be a good time to transfer or anything, because we were supposed to be transferring in March. I didn't feel like it would be a good time to transfer if all these things were happening, and I didn't want to make them wait. At the same time, I also wanted to kind of end the match and go elsewhere. So I wrote them. They were really sweet, understanding, but it was horrible. I felt horrible. I felt like I had like crushed their dream, and I felt bad for a while. I still feel. But I think, just like I said, just things that were being said or implied, just making me uncomfortable, and I didn't know how to voice it, and I still don't know if I could. Like, if that happened again, I don't know how to voice, like, whoa, you know. And, sorry, the baby wants food. He eats more than I do, I swear. Anyways, so I wrote the letter, and that was it. After I got the response back from them, I went ahead and reached back to my lawyer, and I kind of explained to him what was going on in my life, and told him that I did want to match I did want to match with another parent's, but it might be better if we waited and all that. And he went ahead and had me fill out a questionnaire, kind of, you know, for the parents to read about me, and I have to look at the dates when I'm editing this. I'll add in the date, but I filled out basically that I would prefer to only carry one, but if we did end up with two, I wouldn't ask for a reduction or anything like that. And I wanted to only transfer single embryo if they were good embryo quality, because I just, and so a couple of the parents had responded. They were really interested in me, they liked my profile, but they weren't sure about the only transferring one, and because they wanted to better their chances, which I understand that, because if it doesn't take, that's another round of IVF they have to pay for and all of that. So I understand that. And he wrote me and basically asked, like, that he had this one couple that he thinks he thought I would get along, you know, really well with, but they did want to transfer to, and he asked if I would consider them and that sort of thing. And so I told him that I would consider them, and so he sent me their profile, and I'll try to put little captions of dates and all when all this happened, so you kind of get a basic timeline of this. So he sent me their profile, and I love them. They live closer to me, and not be across country like the twins' parents were, but these ones are pretty close. It wouldn't be extremely difficult for them to get here if they needed to get here, or not here, but get to Utah. So I told my lawyer that, you know, I'd be willing to pursue it, and so we did the whole exchanging contact information between the parents and and I sent an email to them and explained to them the situation of, like, how my life was changing at the time, and which I'll tell you in a second. But you know, just to make sure that they were okay with that, because obviously that wasn't in the profile that I gave them. And if they didn't want to deal with that, or if they didn't want to wait or whatever, then I wouldn't have any hard feelings, because we just barely started, you know. So basically what happened was, my husband was not very happy with his job in February, and so I had a good, I shouldn't say good, but I had a decent job, and I was able to take care of the bills and stuff. So I told my husband that he could go ahead and quit and find another job. So while he was searching for another job, March rolled around, and the very beginning of March, they decided to cancel my position where I worked. So now we were both without a job, and I looked around a little bit for a job, hoping to find. I interviewed at a place, and I didn't get that job, and I had another interview at another place. So anyways, we decided that if we were going to have to move or whatever, that we needed to move sooner rather than later. We didn't want to wait until we had run out of all of our savings while we were searching for a job to not find a job and then have to move and not have money to move on. So we were kind of debating, like, were we going to move out of state? Were we just going to, like, what were we going to do? And after talking about it and talking to some family and stuff, we decided for both of us to go back to school. So long story short, we're going to be full-time students. I'm getting some I don't want to say prerequisites, but the college that I want to go to has to have at least 12 hours of college credit from another college before you can go to that college. So I'm taking 12 credit hours right now online. Then I'll transfer to the other school, which is also online, to get my degree. I'm going to be going for my Bachelor's of Interdisciplinary Studies, which is K through 8. And my husband is starting school full-time on the 5th of May, and he will be he's going to be going for IT with an emphasis in software. So that's the bachelor's he's going for. So yeah, so we decided to go to school full time, and in the meantime, I came down to Arizona with the baby to stay with my parents, and he is staying with his sister, and kind of we're going to be living mostly off of grants and loans, and so we wanted to move to a smaller house because the house we had, I loved it, but it was pretty pricey as far as rent goes, so we're moving into a smaller house with lower rent. So he's been up in Utah kind of watching for rentals, and then as soon as his grant comes in, his FAFSA and everything will come in before mine, because I have to do the weird like 12 credit hours. So as soon as he gets his FAFSA, which should be like the middle of May, we'll move back up and be there again. And I just wanted to tell the parents that was kind of how it was going. Like, I didn't mind doing medical and stuff. I didn't mind flying up if they needed to meet me or whatever, but I wanted them to know that they would have to fly me or whatever from Arizona rather than Utah, or, you know, just stuff like that. So I emailed them and they said they were okay with it. So we went ahead and moved forward. On the 28th of March, I want to make sure it was a Friday, I believe, but I'll put the right date if it's not the 28th of March. But the clinic that we're going to be using, they had sent a doctor down towards where I lived, to a nearby city. So I was able to drive down there about an hour away and have my physical with that doctor, and get that medical clearance done before I left Utah. So I did that on the 28th, and then I had that weekend, and then I left and came down to Arizona on the 31st of March. And that was pretty much all for March.